Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Transpicuous News. It is January 23rd, 2017, and I have been on a very long hiatus, but no more. I know I keep saying that. Things are coming afoot. Things are coming to a head that make me go, yeah, no, time to resume Transpicuous News again. Some of my own internal dialogue telling me that, yeah, time to get some of this information out there. Time to really open some of this stuff up again. There's a lot of interesting shit going on. And of course, new president of the United States, Donald Trump, just got sworn into office. And oh my God, the media circus has been insane. But we're going to get to that in a second. First off, I want to touch on a couple of news stories. Just a couple of news stories that were blown out of proportion, a couple of stories that were completely missed with my own little twist on what I think is going on. So I am going to share my screen with you guys. First up, so back first week of January, there was all this talk. Oh, there's going to be the Middle East Peace Conference in Paris this year, January 15th. Oh, they're going to do so many fantastic things. They're going to divide up Israel. They're going to do all these. Okay, right. Jack shit happened. Jack shit. It was just more of the same. And I don't understand how people fall for the rhetoric every time. So on January 15th, 2017, 70 leaders from nations met in Paris to discuss the Middle East situation with, of course, a big prime focus on Israel and Palestine. Nothing got done. Nothing got done. This is another one of those, I think it was just a free trip to Paris for all these guys. A little bit of, fudge up their expense reports. Gotta wonder. Get this. It provided an opportunity to solemnly reaffirm the international community's commitment to the two-state solution, with Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace and security. The only way to guarantee lasting peace. The participants reaffirmed the urgent need to preserve the solution, the viability of which is threatened by continued settlement activity and violence. So that was January 15th, and Israel's response to that, hold on. Just give me a second, guys. I've just got to move that out of the way. Israel's response was, they've just approved 560 new illegal homes to be built in East Jerusalem. So you can see that Israel really took that talking too seriously. Peace and discussion, So, as I said, jack shit happened. Nothing changed, nothing new came out of this. So it was, again, just a free trip to Paris for all these ritzy-rits uppity-ups. So now, in the Middle East going on, there's some interesting shit going on. Now, of course, I've been following, and I've shared with you guys, all the drama in Turkey from the coup that happened. Yes, poor old Erdogan, even though he staged it himself. And more proof is coming out to say, oh, you're right, he did stage it himself. Erdogan seeks to stay in office until 2029. Expect a perpetual state of emergency. So, a little update. Remember the coup happened in Turkey, which of course was Erdogan's excuse to arrest over 100,000 people, to clear out the entire government and the entire judicial system of anyone he didn't like. So now he's doing this referendum. Referendum is to change all the rules of government, right? After his handpicked court approved the changes Erdogan wanted, all that remains is a public referendum, which Erdogan will win simply because he's the one who gets to count the votes. A sign that the tension may mark in the referendum, there might be some tension. Fistfights broke out in Parliament over several days, while a television blackout of the opposition speeches forced one opposing MP to bring his own camera into Parliament, only to have his microphone stolen. Since the failed coup and the introduction of the emergency powers, he has ruled the country by decree. 100,000 people accused of backing the coup have been imprisoned. So, lest I remind you all, Turkey, part of NATO, supposedly America's best buddy. Yep. And this is what's going on in Turkey. So, just setting the stage, because this is going to play into a lot of shit over the next couple of months. You just watch. Now, a little story that got missed. Everyone remembers Palmyra, right? ISIS took over the city, abandoned city, the archaeological ruins of Palmyra. This was in August of 2015. And then, of course, they destroyed the Palmyra Arch, the Baal Archway. And we, of course, discussed all of this ad nauseum. Oh, they're reproducing the archway. They took it, to London and to New York and God knows where else they've taken this stupid arch. Okay, well, what you may not know is that in early December, ISIS reclaimed the city of Palmyra and took it back again. And this was kind of like, okay, look, first of all, why? There is nothing of interest in Palmyra. There's no oil, there's no gold, there's no geographical interesting stuff. It's not like they have to hold this part to ship oil or guns. There's nothing about this place other than it's an archaeological dig and with ancient buildings. Some of them are interesting, as I've covered in previous Transpicuous Newses over the last year and a half. So they retake Palmyra. So what did they do? Well, according to the news, they've started blowing shit up again in Palmyra. One of the things they blew up was the Roman amphitheater. This is where it gets kind of interesting. I'm going to give you this, no proof. I have no proof. I'm going to give you my little twist on this. We know that this is an ancient city that has been used by multiple cultures, that has involved Baal worship, that has involved all kinds of, let's say, questionable religious activities, like human sacrifice, for example, over purportedly a little over 2,500 years, okay? And the history of Palmyra is highly debatable. The official history of Palmyra is highly debatable. But we're going to look at this since ISIS took it over. They held it against all sorts of onslaughts. They held Palmyra. They blew up all sorts of archaeological stuff with the excuse of its idolatry because they're religious buildings, etc., which of course is a crock of shit. So why? Well, what happened in the Roman amphitheater? So as soon as they retook Palmyra, apparently they held a mass execution. 25 people were shot in the head and executed right here. See this little arrow down here? Red arrow over here, and it points to what would be the center stage of the amphitheater, or perhaps what could also be called the altar, if you were to look at it as a religious type building. 25 people are executed. And then they bombed it. Now, note, they didn't bomb the seating area. All the rest of the remaining walls are all standing. What is destroyed? The altar area, or, pardon me, the stage. So, a little background. In a lot of black magic, sorcery, etc., even in magic, witchcraft, etc., when you want to set a spell that cannot be broken, one of the things that is done is to, for example, whatever you've used for that spell, whether it's a picture, whether it is a doll, whether it is an item, right, is to set it on fire. Because then the spell is set. And the idea being that you cannot go back and undo the spell, because it's been set, because the spell area has been then destroyed. It's set. So I find it very fucking interesting that the only thing they destroyed in the amphitheater was the stage altar where they executed these people. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, there's no reason for them to come back to Palmyra. None. Unless, of course, they have unfinished business there of a black magic kind. Just saying. So, one of the other things now, in the alternative media, a lot of people have already seen this come out. But it has been very, shall we say, glossed over. With all the excitement of the inauguration, et cetera, not as much attention on this, which of course is done on purpose. The CIA releases 13 million pages of declassified documents online. And of course, timing is everything. Everyone's focused on the inauguration. Everyone is just in a complete ridiculous uproar. A lot of the people who possibly would have been all over this like white on rice, say it happened a month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, or 2 months from now, are oddly distracted by the whole presidential bullshit. So, CIA releases 13 million pages of declassified documents online. There's been a few little bits and pieces that have come out, and I'll touch on a couple of them, but it's hard going. I've looked it up, I've pulled it out myself, I've gone looking for files. This is something that is going to take a dedicated team months to crawl through because of the way it's all filed. They're not going to make it easy for you. Come on, seriously. But there's some interesting stuff to be found in here, guaranteed. Okay, one of the little pieces that came out, okay, first off, the billion-year Gambian president was installed by the CIA. Oh, shock about which. Now, again, if you followed this, again, most people never heard of this. Hell, there are people who don't even know that Gambia exists. But dictator comes in, overthrows the democratically elected government in 1994. Oh, when under the authorization of Bill Clinton. Oh, that's right, the Clintons again. So the CIA helped this guy perform a coup, ousted the democratically elected leader, put their little playboy in. He's been running the show since then. He's their patsy boy all down in Gambia, in Africa. And he's got special deals with NASA and the CIA and what they're going to do on the various international organizations. Now, what is really, really hysterical, okay, so first of all, there was an election in Gambia in December. He promised, this idiot promised that he was going to step down if he wasn't voted back in. And of course, when he lost the vote, he then decided that, no, I'm going to remain as president for 1 billion years, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. And demand from the United States for Gemma to relinquish power was a display of absolute hypocrisy, since Washington not only installed Gemma in power, but 2 successive US presidents have warmly welcomed him to the White House. So, yeah, just a little more fun and games for everyone. Okay, now one of the other pieces that came out, and this is interesting. Now, if you follow the shows that I do every Monday night, called the One People Roundtable, we've been heavily discussing the Falkland, well, not necessarily the Falkland Islands, but Antarctica, World War II, and a lot of the background shit that most people don't know about that we're starting to dig through about all this stuff. Now, in those released files is a file that the CIA planned to hand the Falklands back to Argentina and to airlift all the islanders to Scotland. They were going to give them $100,000 each, and basically they could go anywhere in the British Commonwealth they wanted. Why? Because the CIA was pretty much convinced that the UK had no chance of winning the Falkland War, which is interesting. Very, very interesting. Argentina against England, and the CIA thought there was a good chance that England was going to get their asses handed to them. But, again, Falkland Islands, go look it up where it is on a map. and look at some of the history of the disputes over the Falkland Islands. Plays into Antarctica, I'm telling you right now. So, moving on from this, okay? The Clinton Foundation, speaking of the Clintons, interesting article, okay? The Clinton Foundation is dead, but the case against Hillary isn't. So apparently, I haven't seen it, but apparently, in a tax filing, the Clinton Global Initiative said it's firing 22 staffers and closing its offices. A result of the gusher of foreign money that kept the foundation afloat is suddenly drying up because Hillary's not president. So Clinton Foundation is closing its doors. Wonder what they're going to do with all their money. Oh, I bet you it's going in their back pockets. Of course it is. We all know that. Then crazy, yesterday, and this story gets good, yesterday, someone sends me a link. Now, unfortunately, oh crap, I got to pull it. My computer had a complete crash. Give me a second, guys, because I'm not going to be able to pull up this. Maybe I can pull up this picture. Hold on. Give me a quick moment. Oh, what are you doing? Yeah, my computer completely crashed, and unfortunately, I lost all my links. So let me see what I can do here to pull this up, because I got to show you, because my screenshot is the only remaining proof that I can find. Someone sent me this link. Welcome to the Obama Foundation, obama.org. Isn't that legal? I had several American friends who saw it and went, wait a second, doesn't there have to be like a certain amount of time from the time he leaves office until he can do this kind of shit? Because it's interesting. And I would love to take you to the website, except that when I went to go to the website, oh, snap, it's gone. Interesting. Which leads us to wonder, was it really an official website? And in which case you got to wonder that, you know, Obama didn't buy out the name obama.org? Or did it happen to get published a wee bit too early before all the, you know, they had everything in place, like new laws and shit? It's interesting. So, another little piece here, okay, because we're going to talk about Trump. Now, we're going to preface this whole conversation with the fact that you all know I am not a Trump supporter. Far from it. I'm not a supporter of anyone in these political games because I know the fact that it don't frickin' matter who's in power. But as shit is playing out, some interesting things are happening. Now, we all know during the presidential campaigning time, Trump made all kinds of promises. He made a lot of different statements on a lot of different topics, even things like anti-vaccine statements, purportedly anti-chemtrail statements, though I never saw that myself, and against the TPP, NAFTA, etc. He's been in power for 3 days, and the rumblings are already starting on some of these things. So apparently, there was announcements that Trump just pulled the U.S. out of the TPP. Now, interestingly enough, this announcement all over Asian media. China, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, you name it, it was plastered everywhere. Not in Western media, though. Oh, funny how none of them covered this. But it's true. There is a bill up. There is a bill up for the president to withdraw the U.S. from the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. Interesting stuff. So, give me a second here. Move this over. So, one of the other things that's coming up is there is another bill that just so happened to be completely prepared to be placed on the table the moment Trump took office, is for the U.S. to exit from the United Nations. Interesting stuff. And yes, I've gone checked. The bill is there. And apparently, he has made a statement saying that he wants to renegotiate NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement, which totally fucking sucks as a Canadian, let me tell you. On the whole, you sit there and go, U.S. is going to pull out of United Nations, no TTP, we're going to renegotiate NAFTA. Oh, it's all great. Oh, look at wonderful things he's done. More research is necessary. Is he pulling out of the TPP because he's going to pen a bigger, even better, more power-consuming version of the trade deal? Not off the table. This guy's a businessman, after all. Is he pulling out of the United Nations in order to negate any responsibility the UN has to dictate to the US? Which on the whole, yes, okay, fine, great, sovereign nation, you want to have your own say. But i.e., for example, if the UN turns around and says the US is responsible for mass atrocities and genocide in Yemen for supporting the Saudis' war, if they've pulled out of the United Nations, does that mean they walk away scot-free and they don't have to listen? Two sides to this coin. That's all I'm pointing out to people. Two sides to every fucking coin. You've got to look at both sides. So before everyone starts cheering, let's just wait and see where it goes. Just saying. Now, George Soros, another little piece, totally by Western media. I've talked about this. Over the years, I've talked about this multiple times. George Soros funds all the major fucking uprisings. Macedonia, he's been trying to control Macedonia for ages. In the Ukraine, who funded it? Yeah, George Soros. All these uprisings that we see are funded by George Soros. Well, apparently Macedonia's had enough. And they're on what is it? It says a new initiative called Stop Operation Soros, a movement dedicated to stopping the evil of billionaire globalist George Soros. Shit's starting to happen. Now, I've got a couple of friends in Macedonia. Been keeping an eye on all this shit for me. And yeah, looks like Soros is about to get tossed under the bus. But lest we forget, for all that George Soros does globally, what he does in the US is far more encompassing. And yet the people keep falling for it. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Texas, all these major riot places that we've seen over the last 2 years have every one of them been proven to have been funded by George Soros. Paid protesters, paid rioters, paid everything. Okay, so then we have the inauguration in the States, in Washington, D.C., and we have a picture of a limousine blown up. Oh, there's a limousine on fire from all these rioters. Yeah, because Soros does this every time. Every fucking major political movement, whether it is meetings of the G20, it does not matter. He does this every time. And yet, the people keep falling for it. And so I want to talk. Okay? Everything on social media, fucking even Western media, talking about the Women's March. Oh, 2 million women marched all over the world. Of course, it's rather confusing as to what they were marching for, because depending on what group you spoke to, they all had different agendas. They all had different reasons for marching. Pardon me. And I've seen some amazing stories. Don't get me wrong, from some of the smaller towns, smaller cities, where, you know, there were small marches that happened and women came together, families, whole communities came together to do these marches that were on for a specific purpose. They were for whether it's not just women's rights, but specific to their community. And I've heard some amazing stories. I've heard some amazing stories of women who put together groups who went out to march for specific items, even marching to present a unified front for women globally who are not in a position of freedom, i.e. women in Saudi Arabia, in Afghanistan, places like that. But on the whole, this march, again, proven, paid and bought by George Soros. Why? Because he's trying to take down Trump, cause all the trouble, the same thing that he's been doing. It's his agenda. It's his agenda. This new world order, one world government, the whole bit, that is his agenda. So he continuously puts together these marches and these demonstrations, call them riots, because they're paid rioters that get sent in. He puts them together to cause division, separation, and to fuel the fire. Proven thing. Soros, tied to more than 50 partners of the Women's March on Washington. Now, this is what I want to talk about. I literally yesterday spent 2 hours scrolling through my Facebook feed, news feed. I know, big mistake. God forbid, why would I even do that? But I did. Because I've been doing it for the last 2 weeks, grabbing a gauge of what public opinion is going, what I want to see what's going on. And quite frankly, the unbelievable, ridiculous bullshit that I've seen in the last 2 weeks is one of the main reasons why I've decided I have to start doing Transpicuous news again. It's not just people who are asleep, people who are completely under the programming, who don't know anything about who George Soros is, never even heard of him before, people who have no concept of the corporatocracy within the governments or that are the governments. I mean, the people who don't know, you can kind of forgive them. You can kind of look at them and go, oh man, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to understand all the backstory of what you just participated in, and you're going to be like, oh my God. I know, because I've done it myself. And it's so funny because, I mean, the chances of you hear me quote scriptures are pretty much zero. But there was one when I was going through it yesterday that came into my mind, and it was a quote by Jesus, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And that was everything about this Women's March. Everything about this Women's March. Being promoted by Madonna, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, three of the skankiest women who have done more to hurt women's rights, more to subjugate women into nothing more than sexual toys. And yet they're up there preaching to the crowds, oh yeah. And of course, Madonna wants to blow up the White House now. Go figure. My concern is the amount of people that I know are awake, who I know are aware. They know all about George Soros. They know all about the fact that all this political bullshit of the left side, the right side, the elephant and the donkey, the two-party system, three-party, four-party, depending on what country you're in, is all a crock of shit. They are all run by the same people. And they fell for it. And they're defending themselves. And I don't understand how people who are as awake and aware as some of these people are could have fallen for this Women's March. All the signs were on the wall. It was a political agenda tool by George Soros to further all of his agendas that he's been doing for decades. Just another one. Here's the thing. It's not that it's wrong. It's not that women shouldn't march for standing up for their rights. It's when everyone throws a hat in a ring that is totally corrupted and that all their energy is being siphoned off to feed this disgusting machine. That is where the problem lies. And some of the slogans that were being chanted, some of the issues that they were trying to put out through this were so bass-ackwards as just to leave me in a perpetual facepalm. You know, there are issues. Do you know the United States has the highest infant and maternal mortality rates in the developed nations? The highest levels. They're in last place of all developed nations, even though they spend 10, 50, 100 times more on health care than half of these other countries. You want to march for women's rights? March for the rights of women to give birth in peace, to have proper maternity care, to have support. March for the rights of a mother to choose whether or not she will vaccinate or circumcise her child. This is not about playing the division and separation game, and this is where you fall on your face. If you align yourself with a political structure, you will fall on your face every time. If you have an issue, make a march. Get the people together. Make this march. Make this issue known. Absolutely. I have been a protester for 25 fucking years. I have gone toe-to-toe in Canadian Parliament with the Minister of Health. And I fucking know all about protesting. But don't throw your hat in the ring with this shit, because you were just vampirized. All of you. And none of your agendas were seen for what they were. Those women who went out there with genuine agendas, who genuinely wanted to help women in their country, your voice was lost. It was completely lost. So if you want to do something, but don't throw your hat in the ring on this shit. It's dirty. It's disgusting. Anything that is being promoted by the likes of Lady Gaga and Madonna and Miley Cyrus and a handful of other decidedly fucking insane Hollywood stars should give you a hint. Oh, maybe I want to not touch this one. Anyways, folks, that's all I wanted to say on this. There's a lot of shit going on, a lot of interesting shit going on. On fucking every level, however you want to look at it. Yeah, I'm going to be digging in again. I've decided that basically for my peace and quiet, so I can do shows, I just kick my kids out of the house for an hour. Then I can do shows again. I know I'm a terrible mom. I am. It's true. I will be back soon with a lot more different things to discuss. It's not just going to be a Transpicuous news. It's not going to be just about news. I have a lot of things I want to discuss. History being one of them, because wow, history is definitely not what we were told it was. Not even close. Anyways, guys, I will see you again soon. Bye.